Hello, I'm MPX Toycat, and Minecraft 1.18 overhauled the entire world engine, taking away all of the core world generation we'd had since October of 2013. This combined with the overall size of the update leads many people to complain about the mountains, which I don't think is a particularly valid complaint. However, I think this, and especially this certainly are valid, and today I wanted to break down exactly what Minecraft 1.18 did wrong. So the first of the four major problems this update has is the dilution of the world engine. The base of this makes total sense. Obviously, when they added new biomes to the game, the generation rate of the old biomes had to be turned down, but it's not just that, because I actually really like the new mountains. I love the depth they add to the world, and I even like the new meadow biome too, as well as the slopes. However, what they've also done is altered all of the existing biomes, some in more noticeable ways than others. Take for example the plains biome, and when I picture a plains, let's say the Great Plains for example, I picture this lovely flat biome that is wonderful for building or farming or anything like that. In Minecraft, it looks a bit more like this. Ignoring the river, which is of course in the middle, you can see how there's no flatness to any of this, because of course, every Minecraft biome has been made significantly hillier, which means also, let's take the birch forest, one of, let's be honest, no one's favorite biomes, but not only have they increased the spawn rate of birch forests, but also, as I'm sure you can tell from your own worlds, they've significantly increased the verticality of this biome as well. No longer is it a biome that represents a forest along a flat surface. Instead, the birch forest has become another type of mountain biome effectively. If you look into the distance there, this is something that is true for so many biomes now that they're effectively just miniature mountains. That honestly, mountains are overdone in a way. It's not just exciting new mountain biomes, it's what if existing terrain was mountainous for no good reason, and the answer just comes out as far too much birch wood and birch trees and not enough of everything else. This is the dilution that I have a big problem with. It's also the fact that for some reason when they were rewriting the world engine, they figured to themselves, what if oceans were bigger? You know that big biome in Minecraft that's terrible to spawn in? And honestly, even once you've spawned in, when do you want a big ocean besides to say you have one? What if we made that far more common and far larger? For some reason that got a pass. What if we made giant frozen icebergs spawn for hundreds or thousands of blocks in some cases? Yep, those things were approved too, and because of the nature of Minecraft world gen, every single time you're going into one of these endless, terrible, useless biomes for survival, you just know to yourself that you could have had a biome you found interesting. You could have had a savanna or a jungle edge here, but instead you're staring down some of Minecraft's least used and interesting biomes at worst. And the only good point is that maybe you'll find a dark forest that's also on a hill, and that maybe that'll be slightly interesting. That is about the best you can hope for, and I think that in general, whenever a part of the game is updated, it should be better in almost every way than before. And overall, sure, there are lots of points that are better, but there are just so many that are worse, and this is one of those things that Minecraft 1.18 did wrong. Things like your boats just magically vanishing when you get out of them. Things like the oceans not having enough coral because it can't generate below a certain height. Now that the oceans can go deeper, they just didn't rearrange the coral, for example. Something that you probably should have done. Also, they didn't rearrange the ocean so it can have more islands, leading to that endless ocean or endless frozen iceberg effect that we've seen, and that is kind of not very fun. And by kind of, I mean very much not. Also, when you craft armor and equip it, it just unequips itself for some reason, which is gonna mess some people up, I imagine. And this is to say nothing of the bugs which are really cool as an outsider, but objectively are bugs, like the fact that mountain biomes don't generate past 3 million, but they leave a giant lava lake there instead, or the flying shipwrecks. There's all sorts of issues in this update. Okay, so let's start with the positives. Minecraft did amazing work adding all the new cave types to the game and then adding spaghetti caves to kind of connect those together. You now actually can explore underground in the same way you can explore the overworld or the nether or the end. It's fun. They added exploration in a way that I love, and mining feels so interesting if you want it to. However, this was the cave update. The community begged and begged and begged for a cave update, and I was so happy when Minecraft revealed they were finally going to be doing a cave update alongside Cliffs, which was a previously voted, Minecraft vote. But like, yeah, it's going to be the cave update. And what we saw in that trailer was mostly cave stuff. Oh, look at the lush caves. Look at the dripstone caves. Look at the deep dark. It looks so amazing with the warden. And then what did we get in the end? Because that was just like a sneak peek. What did we end up coming out to? What we ended up with was 2 brand new cave biomes. Yeah, just 2, and they are the exact ones we saw at Minecon Live, and they work exactly the same way that we saw then. And you know what? That's wonderful. They planned that far in advance that they were able to show us 100% of the biomes that they made, and they were such great designs that of course it was exciting. And no, yeah, I don't think the 2 cave biomes are that amazing. The Dripstone Cave is literally a biome you go to once, and it's like, whoa, this is cool. And then every other time you find it, it's like, yes, there are spikes on the ceiling. This is interesting. I feel like it doesn't have the right rarity balance to balance out what is effectively meant to be like a one-time cool find, because every other time you find it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is great, let's move on. The Lush Cave, on the other hand, is filled with all sorts of resources you might want, whether that's the azalea trees, whether that's the spore blossoms. Okay, that one's only for me, but still, there are so many interesting things inside of the Lush Caves that make it worthwhile. In fact, one of my favorite experiences in this entire update has to be when you pair the Lush Caves with a mineshaft like this. I mean, isn't there just a wow factor to looking at this thing? Ignoring, obviously, they made a few changes to the mineshaft. Just seeing this structure combine with this cave type leads to something that feels like it is brand new. I can see why adding brand new structures to the game is very hard to do, and they can't just add 5 underground structures to placate me, but just adding little variants to things. Again, even if you look around the rest of the mineshaft, it's in Deep Slate. That's different too. This feels like a fully new experience, even though it's not one, and I feel like they could have leaned into this more, but instead what we got was just 2 biomes, one of which doesn't really combine well with structures, and no new structures at all. In fact, they made the most minor of updates to the mineshaft, which I think is a big improvement, and they made the tiniest of change with strongholds to try and make them not generate in the air, but otherwise we saw them barely touch the underground, and that feels like a missed opportunity. Maybe, honestly, when they added the Amethyst Geode, they thought that would be the one structure that makes this update unique, but to me, no. I feel like you need some threat, some challenge down there, and we don't really have that, and maybe that ultimately comes down to the fact that we don't have the Deep Dark alongside the Deep Dark City, which is clearly something that Minecraft 1.18 did wrong, and brings us nicely into our 4th point. I think that splitting this update in 2 was still the wrong thing to do from a community perspective. I'm sure the numbers will tell them that having more updates, even if they're smaller, is a better thing to do than have fewer big updates. However, I think a part of that is really leaning into the Minecraft branding and the fact that people expect big Minecraft updates, and even when you get a small one, it's still something. I think that Minecraft's habit in the past of doing these big game-changing updates, we mentioned the update that changed the world earlier, that was a huge update. We still have debates as a community about the 1.9 combat update, because really, that's how much it changed Minecraft, and perhaps controversially so, and this is a really big deal for us as a community. Updates change the game in a huge way. However, by cutting the amount of update content in an update by half and trying to release double as many of them, not only do you duplicate certain processes like bug fixing, which takes months and then doesn't tend to fix all of the bugs, you're doubling the number of bugs you're producing and have to fix and have to do in double as much QA time. Every single update, you have to make sure all these things are tested, because that's a key part of game development, and then there's so many other costs associated with it that just get doubled when you double the number of updates. I think this is a great idea if they go into it from scratch thinking that way. However, the content that was revealed to be in the Caves and Cliffs update, then known as 1.17, has been split across 1.17, 1.18, 1.19, and some future update after that. This one update has become 4, and this is not the greatest of ways to really get a community excited, where we should be talking about brand new, exciting things like the mangrove swamp and stuff. We're just like, yeah, there's the Deep Dark, it's finally coming this time for real. I mean, they said the last 2 times it would be coming, but like this time it definitely is happening. 1.19 is gonna be the 3rd part of the cave update that finally brings that big threat underground that is exciting. Trust me, look how cool the warden is. And I agree, the warden looks incredible. However, once you've been tricked twice, the 3rd time, once bitten, twice shy, twice bitten, 3rd time shy, I don't know what that actually refers to. Is it shocks? Let me Google that. It used to mean that a person who has failed or been hurt when trying to do something is careful or fearful about doing it again. And you know what? The Minecraft community wants to be excited, and they want to get ready for this Deep Dark Warden, but can we be ready for that? Twice bitten, thrice shy. There we go. That's the new phrase. But yeah, I think it goes without saying that the, two updates for what should have been one big update together didn't necessarily have to be a problem, but the way they implemented it really was. It was clear that the hardest parts of the update, the new world gen, weren't ready in time. They just had all the features they were going to throw in there. And so by giving us access to these features in weird ways, I mean, glowberries were available in chests. You had to trade for moss with wandering traders, which I actually quite liked as a concept. But like making all of these blocks available in just weird little places instead of making them available throughout the world meant that everyone had access to these things. And so when it came out, it was purely about the world gen. Again, I did have these amazing world gen moments. I love looking at this mine shaft. I love looking around these caves. I love looking at so many things in this update. But because all of the blocks have been gotten by, even the most casual of players have played around with most of them by now, it means that this isn't a block update. This isn't an exploration to get some new things update. It's a look around update. And so when everyone is looking around because the update is solely about these new things that generate, that's when they get disappointed when they see a dripstone cave that looks like this, or when they see a snowy slopes biome that looks like this, or when they see that their flatlands has been turned into whatever the exact opposite of flatlands is. Is it pronounced hills, mountains? You can see why people are upset when certain things are ruined, because their whole thing is they are improving the world gen, and if you haven't done that for them, then of course people are going to be upset. But, people being upset is a natural part of life, you might say, and it's perfectly natural to be so. And, try doing that in a conversation with your significant other and see how that goes down next time they're mad. But obviously, there must be a solution to this. Okay, it's really easy, right? What if every time they made a Minecraft update, it was a bigger, better update with fewer bugs? Okay, that's my thesis. Boom, we're done. Obviously, that's a cop-out answer. There are finite resources in the world, and it's really easy to promise the world and say, you know what I would do if I was in charge? I would end homelessness, world hunger, and I would personally fistfight cancer patients. But the real world is much more complex than that. We have trade-offs, and although you could argue that every Mojang employee should be working 24/7, crunching down super hard, making sure it's the biggest, best update delivered on time, that is not something that is easily done, and it's not something that maybe we even want to do. In the same way that we could reduce vehicle deaths to 0 by getting rid of vehicles, but then people wouldn't be able to do the things they need vehicles for, and a lot more people would die from the lack of deliveries and all these other things. Like, you get the point that, like, any easy answer is not actually a great solution, because if it was, we probably would have tried it so far. I'll admit, some easy answers haven't been tried so far, but a lot of them have, and so instead, I think the easy answer to what do you do when this has already had to happen, you can't go back in time and make 1.17 the Dream Cave update, or you can't go back in time and promise less, or you can't go back in time and add more than 2 biomes, or at least adding a brand new structure to this update. So what can you do after those things have already not happened and they're not possible to happen for whatever reason it's been deemed possible? I would say that there is a phrase in expectation management: under promise and over deliver. It doesn't matter what product you're selling, if you over promise and under deliver, people will be upset. They have imagined this great thing in their head because you've told them to, and then your actual product doesn't deliver on it. I think clearly the pandemic hit Mojang hard, but at the same time, they had 18 months of development time for this update, and all of it was during that pandemic. Clearly, they could have known about what was happening with this update before they announced it, or clearly they could have known before Caves and Cliffs Part 1 was announced and hastily shifted into Part 2. I think they probably even had a good idea the Warden wouldn't make it into the Part 2 of it. Wouldn't these things have been better communicated with us, the community? Wouldn't it be better to say, yeah, we're going to add, like a new biome or 2? Here is one of them, have some left in the reserve, showing us 100% of an update, except actually because of all the things that got removed, it's more like 110% of an update, and then scaling back as they slowly deliver the things is a bad thing. And also, one of the easiest, problems of Mojang is that they spend a lot of time working on the ideas for these features. There's a reason why every single time we hear an update announced, there is some modder, and that some YouTuber showing off that modder, who is showing that, like, wow, they've already implemented this feature into the game in just 1 day. Modder takes 1 day, Mojang takes 1 year. And although there is some truth that modders work harder and more passionately to add features, a lot of the design is in actually coming up with the ideas. And so that's what makes me say, okay, why didn't we have any new ideas for any new biomes or how to make the existing 2 cave biomes better in that time? I think just communicating with people and saying, yeah, we are out of ideas for this update. We don't know how to make it better, if that's the problem. And then I'm sure, in fact, I'm not even sure, because people have been giving this unsolicited to Mojang for years, that people would have stepped up and helped out with that. If the issue is like, no, yeah, we have the ideas, we have too many ideas, we just don't have the time to develop it in, then that's the sort of thing that should be roughly worked out by now as to how long something can develop, how many people it takes over what period of time, and how better to utilize those people. I think that whoever is running management at Mojang is not doing the best job at managing their people. Of every single time we have an update, at the last minute we have to say, oh yeah, not only are we not over-delivering like we did with the Never update and we blew the world away, but actually some of the features we said would be here, we didn't realize until this week right now that they're not in there. The biggest feature in the game, by health and by, let's be honest, by community excitement, yeah, we just didn't know that that wouldn't make it in there until 2 months before release. Oopsie, you know how this is. I feel like there is clear lessons to be learned in communication, and I feel like they are improving it. I feel like having Minecraft developers who are working on things, being vocal and sharing on Twitter is a great thing, but I feel like we as a community have a part to play in that. So many people get like aggressive with developers of this stuff, accept the communication they're giving us so that they don't retract in and stop communicating. I think that just like a good relationship, of course it takes 2 parts, and of course we can say we're disappointed in this one thing, and we can say that these are the things that Minecraft 1.18 did wrong, but I also think it's important to say, okay, but how do we fix it? I think we work on that world gen engine, which is now very hard to do because it's kind of set in stone out there, but we work on the fact that maybe oceans are a bit too common, and maybe, you know, mountains could be dialed down the tiniest bit. I feel like working on those bugs, which is of course what they're doing right now, and working on something, whatever it is, for the caves to come along with 1.19 would be a very good idea. But that is my hope. Obviously, as a community, we all have our different hopes, and that's why it's important that we communicate them with each other. And so leave me a comment. I tell you to like this video, but guess what? Liking doesn't mean anything anymore. So leave a comment on this video with what you think they should do in the future regarding avoiding problems like this, because I think that this is a great update, kind of hurt by the circumstances around it. But again, that's my opinion. Love to hear yours. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Also, maybe consider subscribing with notifications turned on. If you watched this far in the video, there's a good chance that you'll want to see more, and I would like you to. So smash that bell, as YouTubers say. Goodbye.